everybody. Welcome back to the Mindful of You podcast. This is episode 62, Movement and Mental Health with Rachel Taylor. So my friend Rachel, I grew up with her. I think we've been friends since junior high, and we played on the same soccer team together, so we've known each other for quite a long time. Rachel is also a health and fitness coach now. So I wanted to interview her, chat with her about movement and exercise, particularly how that can impact our mental health. So I have already interviewed her. It was wonderful, and I'm really excited for you guys to listen to the conversation. First, to tell you a little bit about her, Rachel Taylor is a health and fitness coach, certified personal trainer, and weight loss specialist. Her goal as a coach is to help people understand how working on your physical health and fitness is an investment to create the most confident and capable version of you. Listen to our interview to learn from her and how to get started, especially if you're a beginner. We talk a lot about beginners and how to get going with this, but even those of you who have a good exercise routine going, I think you'll be able to pull some great things from this and see why your habit of exercise is important to maintain. Anyway, without further ado, enjoy my conversation with Rachel Taylor. Hey, Rachel, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you.
Aw, thanks, Mel. I'm so excited to be here. I love your podcast and look up to you just as a human being. So I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited. So I already told the audience a little bit about you. So let's just dive into our questions. So first thing is, tell us more about what got you into fitness and into coaching.
Yeah, so kind of long story short, I've always really loved exercise. I think part of that comes from I've got 4 brothers and I'm the only girl. And so I just tried to keep up with them growing up playing sports and it was fun. I actually even played on a soccer team with Mallory all growing up, with you all growing up.
Yeah.
and it was fun. But I would say that exercise, even though it was like a part of my life, nutrition really wasn't a whole huge key piece back then. But then as I came out of high school and competitive sports and all that came to a halt and I went into college, I was just scared of getting the freshman 15 or whatever that is, right? I was scared of losing weight or gaining weight. And exercise just continued to be more so a way to maintain my image and feel good about myself than kind of what it's become now. And I would say later down the road in my early 20s, I hit what I would call kind of like a crisis point in my mental health. That seems a bit dramatic to say it that way. But I had never really addressed some things with anxiety, some things with maybe some depression type symptoms until they came to a peak then when I was in a toxic relationship. And at that point, I was just grasping at anything that would help me cope. And I had kind of stopped exercising off and on since then or before then. And anyways, at that point, fitness became a way for me to quiet my mind, a way for me to gain confidence again in myself. And because of that, I just and out of that experience, I just had to help other people do the same. I found that it was an investment for me and a key part in helping me become the best version of myself so I could have the confidence to chase after my dreams, so that I could be more present with the people I was with. It just really gave me the tools necessary to be a better version of myself. And I like to say the best version of myself, but that's a long time coming. I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
so I just wanted to do that more with other people and help them. And so that's my focus as a health coach, is to just help people become the best version of themselves. And I think fitness and nutrition enables them to do that.
Oh my goodness. I love that. Thank you. Before I move on to the next question, I want to point out I feel like it's super common and especially the target demographic for my podcast, women in their early 20s and stuff. I think a lot of us were active in high school, maybe not everybody, but there's more opportunities to play sports and do stuff like that. It's really easy to not move anymore because you get an office job or you go to college or whatever, and it's just well, I guess I'll just sit for the rest of my life. And so you have to make a more conscious effort to exercise. And I kind of miss that about high school. It's I wasn't even thinking about being active. It was just happening to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really hard to like then grow up as an adult and be like, oh, is this going to be a part of my life? And it takes a lot more work to include it in your life nowadays. I wish we had like a PE class in the middle of work. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
We should all do that.
Absolutely. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So you touched on this a little bit, so I think it's a good segue, but do you think that there is a link between physical health and mental health, and how so?
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And not only just me personally, like I wanted to understand how much or how connected they were. And so, you know, in kind of what I mentioned about like in those, you know, my early 20s, as I was trying to figure out, okay, what are some solutions for mental health and what are some things I can do and tools I can have in my toolbox? I really kind of looked into this a lot, and I was blown away by the research that's been done on what happens in the brain when we exercise. And it's so cool. So I have to share with you a little bit. Do you mind if I kind of like break that down?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I've got like my notes because I was like, I got to write this down and like be able to explain it well. Because I think it's so empowering when you know actually what's happening to your body. And for me, it motivates me to exercise because it's like, oh, yeah, okay. Like within 5 minutes, I get benefits. But so 5 minutes after you start working out, about 5 minutes after, you get this big blood rush of oxygen and nutrients to your brain. And when that happens, your brain circulation improves, obviously, and then your brain can start repairing neural pathways, building new ones. All this nutrient density that happens is like, you feel that within 5 minutes. And specifically in the regions of the brain that control mood, clarity, self-efficacy or confidence, all of those areas are really where the brain starts working in exercise within 5 minutes, which is like,
wow.
what? After 5 minutes? I think that's the coolest thing. So if you're not going to do anything other than sit on the couch today, at least, you know, get up for 5 minutes and march your feet. But so that's about 5 minutes in. And then when you get to 20 to 30 minute marks, they're able to see on scans that people start getting what most of us are familiar with, which is like this endorphin release. And these are our feel-good hormones. And that happens about, like I said, 20 to 30 minutes in. They just rush your system. And it's kind of like this first high you get with exercise. So if you're exercising for an improvement of mood, that's like the boost. And I love to compare this to like, it's a really similar response as to when you eat a piece of chocolate.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So if you're like, I really want some chocolate, you could get the same response in your body, essentially, really close. If you exercise for 20 minutes, even just walking. So kind of cool, right? And then if you keep going further than that, there's like 60 minutes in, you get this really cool molecule in your brain that releases that helps you improve focus, like long term, and helps you improve memory. And what's really cool about that is what also happens with that molecule when it's released. It's called what is it called? The BDNF, the brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
Very cool.
It's essentially what it does is it regulates traffic in our brain. So for those of us that struggle with like a very busy brain, essentially, yes, essentially the culprits in your brain that are regulating the traffic and the thoughts that are going on and what's going on anxiety-wise especially, those molecules improve those functions. And so after 2 hours after exercise, your brain is getting better at managing stressors, essentially, which you know those. And then it like continues on, and there's like 2 to 4 or closer to 4 hours after, you get another hormone release of like other feel-good hormones that continue, and you can get really specific after that. But even just within those, you know, when you start exercise to 5 minutes to 20 to 30 minutes to, you know, 2 to 4 hours after, there's just so much research that says, hey, like if you want to feel better, exercise is a really great way to get at least a kick that's temporary. It sounds like kick, like a drug, but to get a temporary kind of fix or a temporary like, and not just temporary, but again, our brain towards the end of that 2 to 4 hours, and then even 24 hours after. And they've done research 3 to 6 months, if you're consistent with exercise for 20 to 30 minutes a day, that your brain gets way better at managing stressors that come in, and you get a stabilization of mood and these hormones. So really cool stuff,
Very
right?
Cool. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, and we're going to dive into like your personal experience with it a little bit more too, but I also like, I've been resistant to the idea that exercise would make me feel better for so long. Like just so long. I was like, but I'm tired. What I need is rest. What I need is, and that's true. You need a good balance, right? But I was so resistant to like, no, like just move your body. Like it's going to help you feel better. That like only in the past year to year and a half is exercise like a part of my regular life. And it really does make you feel better, as much as like I always rolled my eyes or was like, I don't want to. Like it really does.
Yeah, I feel you. It took me a minute to like bust through. I very much was raised in a household that, bless their heart, I love them very dearly, but the answer to any problem in life was my family was exercise, right?
Yeah.
Like go running for 12 miles until you feel better. But so yeah, I feel you. When I was like really in the deep pits, and even some days now I'm like, oh, that's the last thing I want to do. But when it's the last thing you want to do, it usually does help. But I will preface that with, I agree too that, or I think it's an important point to be made, that exercise is not medicine, and it's not a treatment. It's a part of the treatment plan, right? For anything, for all of us.
Absolutely. It's another tool and another part of like being like holistically healthy. It's not a replacement for all the other great things that we learned too. So
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. So tell us a little bit more about like how your physical health journey has affected your mental health journey.
Yeah, you can tell me if I'm getting too personal. I'm kind of an open book. That's just kind of how
I don't think that's possible on this podcast.
Good. I'm glad. But yeah, I would say that. So, in general, I would like to say I'm a fairly confident human, right? Pretty capable human. I had great parents, great family. That has really, I feel like, helped me succeed in a lot of things in life. But physical health for me is just, I notice I can look back at my life and look at like periods of where that was not a piece that was going on, and how much more I struggled with tendencies I had. So like, I am a more anxious human. I just always have been. I use that word kind of freely, maybe too much, but I'm an anxious brain. I think a lot constantly and constantly stress about being productive. And, I have these tendencies. And I would say specifically like diving into maybe what I mentioned as like this crisis, this point of like, it was probably the only period in my life where exercise had not been something consistent, because like we mentioned, all growing up, played sports. I was involved. When I went to college, I like made it a very, very big point to exercise, more out of fear than anything, but consistently. I went on a church mission, and it was required of us every day, and I was strictly obedient because that's just how I am, and I did it every day out of obligation at that point. But when I was at this point in my life where I was in this toxic relationship, and I found it difficult to get through the day at work, and I found it really, really difficult to look myself in the mirror. I found it hard to be in social situations, which for those of, the individuals who listen to the podcast, or even I'm a pretty social person. That's not really been a struggle of mine. But really all I did was first add back in some exercise. And when I started adding back in exercise, I started to be able to view myself as someone who can accomplish hard things. Self-efficacy is important, and I use that term as like a looking at yourself and understanding that you have the potential to push through any obstacle, and you have the potential to go after the things you want. And I think we all have those things, but what exercise did for me at that point when I was 20, 21, I started incorporating that in 20 minutes a day, is I then started to dream again. I started to look at things I really wanted. And what used to be paralyzing anxiety was now still anxiety, but it was, hey, like almost anxiety to the point of nervousness and fear, but it didn't paralyze me anymore. And I still use that as like a superpower moving forward. And as a mom, a big part, I just had a baby this last year, and it's so fun. And I just love her to death. But it's amazing how my motivations for exercise has changed, right? We talked about like this journey of physical health and how it helps. Now my motivations for, I want her to see that I value hard work, and I want her to see that I can do hard things. And I think that every time I accomplish a workout, as silly as it is, that's hard, I feel better about myself knowing I can overcome obstacles and mental barriers I had, even if it's I thought I couldn't run another mile or whatever it is. And she gets to view that. And so it's changed my motivation, and it's continued to breed this level of like confidence for myself. And I think confidence is is key in us like becoming the people we want to be. And then, you know, mindful of you. Yeah, I love your podcast name. I love it. Mindfulness is so crucial and important. And I am like a very, very beginner student in mindfulness. But I love the way that it enables me to be present with the people around me.
Yes.
And I think that's so crucial.
I think it's a lifetime practice. Like hardly anybody is going to come out and say like, oh, I'm really good at mindfulness, because anybody who's even like dabbled in it knows that it's really hard to like be present and to bring your mind back. And so I'm just curious, I'm going to ask a follow-up question. If it's too personal, that's okay. But I'm just wondering, do you think like exercise also like helped your self-esteem within that relationship you mentioned, maybe help you like stand up for yourself more? Like what did it do for you in that case?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's totally a comfortable question to ask. It's totally fine. Yeah, so I was married. I was in a married relationship. I think for your demographic that listens, they're probably familiar with, you know, in Utah, we sometimes get married really young. And I got married really young at a point when I was really lost and was in a relationship that became very, toxic. And not even to talk about, okay, who was more toxic to each other. The relationship itself was toxic because both of us didn't know who we were. We weren't compatible. Mm-hmm. There's so many things behind that. But to answer your question of like, do you think that it helped me in that relationship? Absolutely. So for me, this sounds funny, but my mom and my dad saw that I had started exercising again. And at this point, our relationship had become really strained because I kind of was put in this position of him or them, right? And my mom saw that I was exercising, and she talked to my dad, and they had talked a bunch, and she has told me since that as soon as she saw that, she knew I was going to be okay. And and I remember like her telling me that after, and just being like, how did you know that quickly? And she knew that at that point, what it would do is it would breed confidence, like you said, for me. Yep. And enable me to be able to see clarity in the relationship and know what needed to change. And I think for a lot of us that are in hard relationships, either a relationship with yourself that's poor or a relationship with another person, a lot of what breeds that toxicity is a lack of security, right? A lack of feeling insecure, feeling small. And if you're with someone that makes you feel small too, I think for exercise for me, what it did is it helped me see what I could do and who I was, and brought me back to who I was. And then I could see what I deserved, and I could see what I wanted, and have the strength to go after that. And it wasn't easy, but I do think like exercise a ton for breeding that confidence in me and changing my life.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, that gave me chills. I remember, well, let's see, because we're married now. I love my husband, but there was a time when we were not getting along so well when we were dating, and we had like kind of a falling out. And this is not uncommon for people to start getting their physical health in shape when the relationship goes south. Like they're like, okay, time to hit the gym. I'm gonna get super hot, and like, you know, like we do that. But something that my husband and I have talked about now is that's a great motivator, right? But you can still get out there and build that confidence within your relationships. And that's like a huge thing for me too. Because like in your situation, you were in a like toxic relationship and it needed to be done. But many of the people that like listen to this podcast aren't in that situation, but building that confidence, even if it doesn't make you like realize you need to like leave your spouse, it's gonna like still build confidence and make your marriage or relationship better because you're more confident and more secure in like who you are. So I don't know, hopefully that all came out okay,
I could not agree more. The more confident you are, I think the more capable you are to love others. Yes,
that's a great way to say that. I love that. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. That was really beautifully stated. So where is this question? So this is an interesting one because there's always two sides to every coin, right? And like, in what ways do you think physical health or like a focus or maybe too much of a focus on physical health can negatively impact our mental health?
I think this question is interesting because clearly, I think like right off the bat, we can all go, oh, it definitely can be negative too. But to articulate that was hard as I was thinking about it. And I was talking with my spouse about it, like, because, oh my goodness, I'm guilty of this. I can become obsessive to a point sometimes, and he knows he has to call me out. But I think that it's when, for me, and kind of my understanding of this question, it's when we start to get hung up on the wrong why, is what I would call it, of like,
yes, yeah.
Why are we doing it? Why are we exercising? Or why are we like working on our nutrition and fitness? And I think as soon as it becomes a comparison game and it becomes something we need to achieve and accomplish, then it can become toxic if we don't watch it. But I think that if we're after it for the motivations of it using it to become the best version of ourselves and to be more present with those around us, to feel stronger, to even feel sexy, to whatever it may be, like, I think those are pretty safe whys to invest in exercise with. What do you think?
I love that. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And I love that you mentioned strong, because I like remember one day like just being like, I want to be strong. Like I hate feeling like a weak little girl. It just bothered me, and like it didn't used to bother me, but one day I was just kind of like, I hate that like I can't lift stuff up, that like I didn't feel like I was capable, and it was almost like helping myself getting physically stronger made me feel stronger mentally too, because it was like, hey, like I'm in charge here, like I can get stronger in all areas. And so I love that motivation. I struggle with tying, and this isn't everybody, this is me, and I do think many other people, but I struggle with weight loss goals, or with like a focus on what it's going to do to my external appearance. I get really hung up right away. So I pretty much like avoid that entirely. I think there's a way to do it healthily though. I don't think it's inherently unhealthy to try to lose weight, or to try and change your appearance in a way. But for me, it's just such a slippery slope that I always keep the focus on getting stronger and like just feeling better. But what do you think about that aspect?
I actually would even agree. Like, I think out of all the clients I've worked with, for most of us, it's probably a pretty slippery slope to start setting goals that are specific about results we want to see on our body. The other thing is our bodies are just so complex, and there's so much to a weight loss goal. There's so much to a muscle mass goal, and some of that's not in our control. And for a lot of us, that's really, really hard to do. I also I love studying behavior change, and like this is kind of comes with coaching, but like understanding how our brain gets motivated and what motivates us long term. And to kind of sum up kind of my thought here is, our brain is motivated much better by something that can be rewarded in the present versus something in the future. The motivation just comes immediately as we focus on results we want present. And so I think too, like if we're struggling with the idea of exercise or wanting to get started, focusing on the goals that you can have today from working out. So 5 minutes in, I get this cool like brain rush. Okay, 20 minutes in, I get a serotonin boost. Okay, like I am going to feel stronger today because I lifted those weights. Instead of I have a goal of weight loss 6 months from now, or even 2 weeks from now, or whatever it may be. I think that as we focus on benefits we can have here now, like you said, feeling stronger and just feeling better, I think a lot of times that prevents us from going down this toxic route. But yeah, I think for most of us, focusing on changes in our physical appearance and body and having that be our sole focus and goal is a slippery slope. I would agree.
Okay, awesome, cool. So you dived into this a little, but if you were talking to past me or somebody who like hates exercise and is like, has almost turned this off so many times, but they want to get healthier, how would you advise them to get started?
Yeah, I love this question so much. 'Cause it is, oh gosh, it is the hardest thing ever to get started. And I honestly think for some of us, it's like if you never were really involved in fitness, if you had never been strong before or any of that, it's kind of encouraging because you build muscle you build muscle for the first time pretty quickly. You improve really quickly at the beginning. But most of us, I would say, were probably active in high school, and it's a comeback, right? And comebacks are even harder. They're so hard because you know what you used to be able to do. But anyways, I would say that where you can start is what I advise most of my clients to do is with what I call exercise tastings. Kind of silly,
Okay.
but it's hang with me here for a second. But
I love it. No, this is so much more like hands-on than I thought it would be. Like, I like it.
Thanks. But yeah, so exercise tasting. So what it is you set aside a week, like a start date you're going to start. And for all of us that love this, like jumping on something and just getting all in, it kind of works this way. But for a week, you try to hit 5 to 6 days out of the week of just 10 minutes of exercise. And that 10 minutes can be walking. It can be doing push-ups in your front room or squats. It can be like going on a bike ride, whatever. It doesn't matter. And I encourage people to get a variety, right? To taste different exercise modalities in that week. And
I love that.
to really kind of experiment with exercise. And 10 minutes is like mentally, we can do 10 minutes. Like 10 minutes isn't very long. We set the timer and go. And that's what I encourage people to do is set a timer and stop when the timer's done. Force yourself to stop. And just watch how over the course of a week, you start to want to keep going. And you start to find things that you enjoy. And I've seen clients that do this for a week and they're working out 20 minutes the next week. And maybe not working out. Wow. They're being physically active, right? It doesn't have to be a workout.
Yes.
And so I would recommend either starting there or starting with just going on a walk. You can capitalize on so many benefits just from walking, especially if you want to release stress, if you want the mental clarity, if you want all those pieces, but tons of health benefits from just walking. So I always recommend if you're overwhelmed and don't know where to start and you're not ready to start some sort of program or have, hands-on help, then doing some exercise tastings or walking is what I recommend.
I love that. Exercise tastings. That's so cool. I know walking is how I started.
Is it?
Yeah, because I was like, I am too overwhelmed at the idea of like going to the gym or doing something formal. So I would just try and go on walks. And you do kind of start to crave a little bit more, even just from walking. But if that's where you stop, that's still great.
Yeah.
Like, because you're getting way more benefits. So,
yeah.
Okay, awesome. So something I advise my listeners against is falling into the all or nothing mindset, meaning that they have to do it all. And if they can't, then they should quit. Like, and it sounds silly said out loud like that because it's like, well, why would you do that? But we all do it.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. What advice do you have for someone with this mindset surrounding exercise and movement?
Yeah. My exercise is very, I would say, biased to me because like when I hear that, I'm like, okay, yes, I can relate in this way. So my answer is kind of towards that. So hopefully it's helpful.
That's fine. That's fine.
But I'm definitely that person. And I think most of us are, like, they talk about yo-yo dieting or in instances of, like, nutrition. A lot of times people jump on a diet, they go all in, and then they just get burned out, right? And so that's how our brain works, is if we restrict it too tightly, especially, like, around food, then it reaches a breaking point, an exhaustion point in our self-discipline. And I think it's the same with exercise. If we're doing it at first because we don't want to or it's uncomfortable for us, setting goals that are not achievable on your worst day are too hard, too difficult. We won't maintain them.
Yes.
And so that's a lot of times what I do with myself and I advise clients to do is, okay, set a goal, set a plan of what you want to accomplish, where you want to be. Break that down into steps. And then as you lay out a plan for how you're going to take those steps to get to your goal, instead of taking step 1, 2, 3, and 4, rewind it and go at a geriatric pace, like so much slower than you think you need to go, and make sure that those goals are set that even on your worst day, like if you think of the last month, like your worst day you've had, that would still be achievable that day.
I love that. I love that. Because I've talked about that before. I think I've referred to it as a bare minimum.
Oh, I like that.
Like at the bare minimum, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And so it has to be so realistic though. Like when I was first like really trying to crawl out of like a mental health hole with like depression and anxiety, I was like, bare minimum, I'm going to brush my teeth and brush my hair. Like that bare minimum. Cause it was like, I know I can do that. And so I think that's really helpful advice when it comes to getting started moving too.
I love that. I love the bare minimum, like starting the sentence with that. I think that's so cool. Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Love it. Okay. So tell us more one about like the app you have created. I've seen you posting about it on your Instagram, and how it could help someone wanting to get started on their fitness journey. And I'll just add if there's any other ways that people can work with you or learn from you, throw those in as well.
Thanks, Mel. Yeah, so I'm super excited. Since having the baby and everything, I have had to go online for coaching. We also moved, and it was breaking my heart that I wasn't working with clients, and especially this like group of clients that wants to get started, doesn't know where to start, and it's so intimidating and hard at first. It's not something you really want to do. It's not comfortable. And if you're looking for options that will help you stick with it long term, you want some accountability, which is so key in progressing long term. I wanted to create a program for that client. And so we've developed this application with my company, which is Health Yeah. And on the app, there is a program. And I think specifically for this podcast, the program that I would recommend is our at-home lean out program. And awesome. The at-home program is fun because it's only 20 to 30 minutes a day. So maybe start with your exercise tastings, and then as you get ready, if you want to do something more and don't know where to start, they're 20 to 30 minute a day workouts, and there's 4 days a week that they program workouts, and they're all in there for you. All you do is click into the app, pull up your workout, and follow along and do it. And these workouts are designed with no equipment, so all you have to do is just open it up at home on your phone and follow along. And I really love this app because it shows your progress over time. There's also a spot where if you want to, you can share your workouts with me, set that setting. And so as your coach, I can see those, and I can comment on them and, encourage you, and then give you tips and tricks. And in that message feature, you can always send over like form videos if you're not sure how to do something, or you need a swap for an exercise because you have knee pain, so there's that. And then there's also a group forum page where like the community of the people who are using the program can post and share, and I share tips and tricks, even nutrition related. And anyway, so I designed this program, and I wanted to be really simple to use and cost effective for people who wanted to get started. So it's $15 a month. It's a subscription.
Okay.
And if any of your listeners want to join and learn more about that, or even work with me as a coach moving forward, or you're an avid gym goer and you want to have a program for the gym, all of those things, my programs, nutrition tips and tricks, those are all linked in my Instagram. So maybe I could give that to you and put it in the notes if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've already got it ready to go. So
awesome. Yeah. And then we also are getting ready to launch a podcast in the next couple weeks. So I was so excited.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So so we haven't got started with that yet, but if you keep an eye on the Instagram, we'll have some more fun podcasts of my husband and I just bantering. We're hilarious. He's the pickiest eater in the whole world, and I am, and not healthy to any like on any bare minimum for him is maybe a fruit a day, but he looks great, and
he's figuring it out somehow.
He's fun. Anyway, so if you want to chime in and learn more about that kind of stuff, that's all on my Instagram.
Cool. When I think when this podcast is going out beginning of April, so your podcast might be released by then, so make sure you send me the link.
Okay, yeah, we will if we got that ready. Thanks, Mel.
So okay, awesome. Anything else you wanted to share?
I think I already mentioned, it's so hard getting started. It is so hard. Be easy on yourself. Be so kind. There's an influencer I follow that's so cute. And every Monday she posts a picture of herself like working out, and she says, never miss a Monday. And I love this idea of like, we can always choose to restart. So if you are that person that goes in too deep, or who gets started and loses your traction, motivation, you can always restart. Take advantage of any day you want to get started, and just go for a walk, try an exercise tasting. But the hardest part is those first, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks of starting. Yep.
I love that. Yeah, you're making me want to. I already went to the gym this morning. I'm like, I feel like I got to go do something else. Rachel motivated me.
Oh my goodness. I'm glad. I'm so grateful that you invited me to be on the podcast and to get to come and chat with you. I don't get to chat with you very often anymore, so it's so fun.
I know. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I benefited from this, if no one else. So hopefully we can help more people out with this. And yeah, if you're interested in anything Rachel mentioned, everything's going to be linked in the show notes or in the description on YouTube if you want to check any of that out. So, okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
See you later. Thank you guys so much for listening to that interview. I really enjoyed chatting with Rachel. Everything we chatted about is linked in the description. So if you're interested in her app, in that really affordable fitness program, check that out with the link in my description. You can follow her Instagram. If the podcast is up yet, I will link that there. If not, follow her Instagram for updates. And yeah, hopefully you were able to pull out some nuggets, maybe try some of those exercise tastings, and really get moving with your mental health. You guys have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.